Now to the crisis in Britain's prisons, and the new Labour government is reportedly considering plans to release inmates early after they spent just 40% of their sentences in jails. And it comes at a time when prisons are almost full. In fact, they're bursting at the seams. There's even been talk of a one-in, one-out policy. Shame they can't do the same on our borders. But joining me now to discuss this is retired prisoner governor Vanessa Frake. Vanessa, welcome to the show. It's always a pleasure to have your company. So is this an example, letting people out after only serving 40% of their sentences, if it's a 4-year sentence or below? Is this a sign of the Labour government already going soft on crime, or is it actually just a grim necessity?
Well, I think it's more like a grim necessity. Whatever you decide to do to help the overcrowding crisis is not going to be a quick fix, whether that's investment, building more prisons, making right the old Victorian prisons that we've currently got. So I think, in the short term, I think, probably this will help. It will help. Certainly the judges and the courts we can't possibly have a state of affairs where somebody is convicted and there is not enough room in a prison to send them down. So I think as long as they are risk assessed individually and managed well outside, and obviously any conditions upon their release are met, then I'm afraid we're going to have to, have a sort of suck it up and see. In 2007, between 2007 and 2010, the Labour government then released early release on around about 81,000 prisoners. So it's not something that we should be completely surprised at from this Labour government.
And Vanessa, we're seeing stories. There are only 700 spaces left in the entire prison system for men in England and Wales. That's really approaching being full to the absolute rafters. Yeah. How much of this new policy do you think is a flavour of what we might see under James Timpson? He's Labour's new prison minister, of course, of Timpson's, locksmiths and, where you get your shoes done at supermarkets. That company famously employs ex-cons. It's very big on redemption. It's a great idea in principle, but redemption can go wrong, can't it, if you're releasing the wrong kinds of people too soon?
Yes, it can. There are many instances when, prisoners have been released and committed further horrific crimes. Absolutely. But, I think personally speaking, from my own point of view, give James Timpson a chance. He is the first prisons minister that this country's had of somebody who actually knows something about prisons. We've had probably near 13, 14 prison ministers in the last so many years, and none of them have done anything to help the prison service. We are in the position we are today because of the 14 years of lack of investment, lack of staff, overcrowding, poor vetting procedures, poor equipment, old prisons that are no longer fit for purpose, and a poor rebuilding of new prisons sort of track. So, he's certainly got his work cut out for him, without a doubt.
It certainly is. And Vanessa, on that final point, the idea of, well, if the prisons are full, why don't we build some new NICs? What would you say to that?
Well, to my mind, that isn't just the answer. But there are, some of our prisons are over 200 years old. They're old Victorian prisons. Wandsworth, the inspectorate said about them having raw sewage running down the landings. Well, that's just not acceptable. It doesn't meet health and safety. It doesn't meet decency standards. And is that really what we want as a country? No, of course it's not. So I think, yes, there does need to be a prison building system and good prisons and modern prisons with good technology to combat mobile phones, drugs in prison. We need to look at our vetting procedures and how we support our staff, without a doubt.
Super stuff. You know what? It really, really is a delight to have your expertise. I always enjoy having the show. Thank you very much for retired prison governor Vanessa Frake. Thank you. Great stuff.